Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. Yesterday, I put out my top 10 draft rankings for the 2025 season. Very early, of course, but I've decided to back this up and try to create a bit more of a draft picture to try to tell that overall story by putting through here a 10 to 20 draft ranking, just to give you guys a few more names, give you a little bit more context so we can start to build this draft picture. Now, remember, the names that are kind of currently being discussed, most of that's off their bottom age year, which was last year. So not everybody got to even have a bottom age year at national championships and stuff like that. So we've got to take that into consideration, and kind of that's why I'm trying to start this almost from a clean slate at the beginning of this season and put it together so that we're not using too much historic data in the overall thing. But I'll kick things off with my number 11. I mentioned him yesterday in the top 10. I'm talking about Sandringham Dragons player Rory Wright. He's a very combative, contested midfielder on the inside, but he does spread really well to the outside. I don't think he's got rapid pace, but he runs pretty well. He covers the ground very well in transition. And I think the thing that sets Rory Wright apart from the other midfielders in this draft is his elite disposal. He's got a beautiful left foot kick, and he seems to be able to spray the ball around. Different types of kicks is what I'm talking about. He can sort of run out of stoppage, hit that sort of low kick inside forward 50 on the run. He can also kick around the body, you know, be sort of on the half back line, receive the ball there, turn a little bit and just hit that crossbody kick 50 to 60 meters. That doesn't seem to bother him at all. And the contested stuff is brilliant. I think he has that multi-directional handballing that the modern midfielders do to sort of release other teammates. And when this guy drifts forward, he seems to be a bit of a threat in the air, and he hits the scoreboard regularly. So I am loving his season so far. He's not a player that I knew anything about last year, but I can only judge it on what I've seen this season, and he looks like one of the best midfielders in the pool. At number 12 on the list, I've gone for a little bit more of a familiar name, Noah Hibbins-Hargraves from the Dandenong Stingrays. This guy was pretty exceptional in his bottom age year, and that's why he's a more familiar name to everyone. He's kind of an outside player at this point, I suppose you would say. Plays across that half forward line for the Stingrays, as well as a little bit of wing. He does have that endurance to get up and down the ground, but he's also an incredible marking player. We saw that in the under-17s futures game, where he was able to sort of drift across that half forward line, take some big outlet marks. So he sort of acts as a little bit of a hybrid forward between a key position player and a smaller player. He's really good at ground level, brings his teammates into the game with his handballing. And I think the progression for Noah is probably going into the midfield, seeing if he can impact there and play as that sort of mid-forward type player. Something like a Toby Green, I think athletically we could maybe expect that from him in the future when he gets a little bit more power in his game and he can sort of burst away from stoppage as well. I see a lot of progression in this guy, and I like the multi-positional element to his game. At number 13, I've gone for the first key position player in this pool. I've gone for a key defender, or at least that's what I see him as, and I have gone for Cody Curtin. I think just physically, this guy is such a presence. He's such a big piece to whatever back six he's playing in. He is the absolute man. He takes on those big key position forwards, and he seems to monster them in the air. He can take intercept marks. He can lock down. If there's one worry about Cody Curtin overall, it's probably just the ground level stuff and maybe that mobility. He does look a little bit cumbersome sometimes when the ball hits the ground, but I think overall, if you kind of seeing how he could be at AFL level, he seems to play a little bit like someone like a Jacob Wiedering, who probably does look like that at times, but seems to be able to deal with it, seems to be able to handle it, and his size and pure physicality gets this over the line for me. Number 14 on the list, I have gone for Jevan Philippou, brother of Matthias, and he plays pretty similar football to his brother. He's a really good athlete, a really good runner. He covers the ground. He's got a nice dual-footedness about him. He seems to be able to kick off both feet really, really well, hits up targets, picks the ball up deep, brings it forward, can hit those balls inside forward 50 like his brother's been doing at the Saints, and doesn't seem to, I actually don't know what foot he is, because he seems to kick really, really well on both, and he plays way above his size from an aerial point of view. So when you bring in that ability to run, that ability to kick, and the marking ability, I think this guy could be really, really special and a big mover in this draft. At number 15, I have gone for Western Australian Fred Rodriguez. He is a pretty general midfielder, and it's probably why I've dropped him back in this crop a little bit more than some others. Doesn't so much have the ability, I wouldn't say, to play multiple positions. He's pretty good by foot. He can kick off both feet. I wouldn't say he's sort of laser-like with his disposal. He's not really surgical inside forward 50, but he's a big body in that midfield. He's someone that can kind of take the heat from players around, which we saw in that academy game at the weekend playing against bigger-bodied Richmond VFL players. He can take that. I think his contest work probably has a little bit left in it still. I don't think his creative handballing is necessarily all there to get, when you're right in at the coalface and you need to create for others. Not necessarily there. Seems to cover the ground really well, and when he's gone forward, he can impact as well. So I like him at the top end of the draft. Probably the fact that he's just stuck in the midfield a little bit. I can't really see him playing anywhere else at the moment is why he's dropped down my board a little bit. At number 16, I've gone for Lockie Carmichael, who is sort of an undersized marking defender, a rebounding defender, but somebody that I think plays way above his size. He's only 180 centimeters, but I don't know. There's something intangible about Lockie Carmichael for me. I just really like the way that he reads the game. I think he's really strong in marking contests. He's really strong in ground level contests as well. And he just seems to make the right decisions. I just don't see him make many mistakes. His skills look pretty good on both sides of the body. And it just looks like he has a really good footballing foundation to him. And the fact that he does have all of that, and then you bring in the marking ability and the ability to read the game from the back half, I think that's kind of what tips him over some other players here for me. I love his work. He's tied to the Sydney Academy though, so no one's going to get a crack at him. At number 17, I have gone for Archie Ludovic from the Sandringham Dragons. Now, there are some flaws in Archie's game, but he is a serious athlete. He's 197 centimeters and he can run, he can jump, he can do all of that sort of stuff. And he's a really good ground level presence for someone that size. He does remind me a little bit of an Aaron Cadman, but there are some things, as I said, that he needs to clean up in his game. Like, he will fly for the ball in the air, often double grab. He doesn't take the ball as cleanly as you would like him to all of the time, but then he can sort of clean that up with ground level stuff, which means he hits the scoreboard pretty regularly, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do that at the higher level. So I'm sort of tempering my expectations on Archie Ludovic, but he could also be a big mover that sort of pushes for that top 10 if he can put everything together and fix some of those things that he needs to work on. At number 18, I have gone for South Australian Dyson Sharp. He was one of the better performed bottom age players for South Australia last year, so he came into this year with a lot of hype. I've probably marked him down compared to other people at the moment. It's just on the fact, again, it's that sort of single position. He's probably not going to be able to play anywhere else other than that midfield group. He's a solid body in there. I'm not sure if he has the disposal by foot of some of the other midfielders in this crop. And ultimately, from a projection point of view, I probably just see him at this point as just a solid-bodied midfielder and nothing else. But there's a lot of footy to go for this season. We'll get to see him at National Champs. We'll get to see him in the second Academy game. So he might be able to get more higher up this draft board. At number 19, I have gone for South Australian Harley Barker. He's a 187 centimeter athletic wingman. This guy dominated the sort of pre-season draft combine, if you will. So he's got some real speed to his game. He's got some real vertical leaping to his game. He can take marks as that outlet as a winger. He can run up and down the ground all day, and he's got pretty good skills at ground level. So I loved his game at the weekend for the Academy. Not a high volume player at the moment, but I'd like to see him, play some different positions. We can see that sort of inside stuff. We can see his handballing and we can see his composure when there's a little bit more pressure on him as well. But I sort of like him at this point, just inside that top 20 with obviously a lot more football to be played. And at number 20, I have gone with a Gold Coast Academy player here, Bo Adensel. It feels kind of criminal to put him this far back in the draft with the performances that he's put down as well, but just again, a 180 centimeter midfielder. I've only really seen him play midfield. So again, at the top level, where are you going to play? What other things can you do, et cetera, et cetera. So he's kind of fallen back a little bit for me, but not because of the performances that he's put down. He's been excellent across, bottom age competition as well as so far in this season. Even he was one of the better performed players in the Academy game that I watched, but he goes a little bit less noticed, I suppose. He's a little bit less flashy, just uses the ball well, pretty composed around stoppage. And I really rate him, but he slipped to number 20 for me. So that is a wrap for the top 20. That's kind of rounded everything out for an early season. I really just wanted to do this to put a marker down, to be honest, and kind of see how much this changes over time for me. But that's just kind of what I've enjoyed over the first month of football. We've obviously got more important games. We've got a lot more games to play out across the rest of the season as well. The national champs will be everything in this conversation, so I wouldn't be worried too much until we get to that stage. But I've enjoyed the football, and it was fun making this video.